You're watching Unpacking, where we unlearn what's unhealthy. And today we have our amazing guest, Johnny Sally Jr.
Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to be here.
It's my pleasure. Tell the people a little bit more about yourself.
Well, my name is Johnny Sally. I am the CEO and owner of Loyaltylyfelegacy, which is a life coaching and social impact organization focused on universal community wellness through action, guidance, and motivation. I'm a veteran. I'm a father of 8. I have an extensive background that, it amazes me.
You're going to find out about while we're here.
Yes.
One, I just like to say I'm loving this shirt, this slogan, etc. Is this your brand?
Yes, this is one of the, I guess you'd say, brands of the brand.
Mm-hmm.
This one and another one I'm pushing more, collaboration over competition.
Collaboration. Oh, I love it. Yeah. Beautiful. Energy. Okay. So we're going to get into all of that, but we're going to start off with your childhood. Tell us a little bit about how you were brought up.
I was brought up in what some would say is a broken household. I was raised by my mother and my stepfather, and periodically I would go visit my father. Once I got, I want to say right before I turned like 11 or 12.
Okay.
And a lot of what I experienced, I didn't understand it until I look back now, to where I see the fact that my family made choices and decisions that they felt were best for me, but they didn't even understand the choices they were making.
Okay, tell us a little bit about one of them that you feel was like made the most difference or change in the way your life ended up going.
One of the things that made a major difference in where my life is now was some of the things my mother tried to teach me to protect me from being hurt emotionally, relationship-wise. And I also see it as a social construct that had been put in place that many of us don't acknowledge.
Okay, what's that?
The fact that us young males are taught that we should be overly sexualized and it's okay for us, and that women shouldn't be. So for instance, like I was raised and taught that as a male, I'm supposed to go around and bounce around from woman to woman. Even the effect that if an older woman does something to a younger man, he's just pretty much not he's coaxed into feeling like, hey, that's okay. That's what's supposed to happen. So how it has played out in my life, and I can't necessarily blame my mother because I still made a choice, is that I began to look for love in all of the wrong places. I began to look for external love and not internal love within myself, to where I ended up with 7 biological children by 5 different women. And that was because I had the mindset, a subconscious mindset, that this is what I'm supposed to do. The first time I came home crying about a woman, my mom told me, hey, what are you crying about? You don't owe her anything. You're not married to her. You should be having a girlfriend here, there, here. And I understood that it was my mom's way of trying to keep me from, again, like I said, being hurt. But a lot of the world teaches that it's okay to bounce around because we don't have courting now. You jump into a relationship, which usually ends up in sex. And then you're not even compatible with the person and you just branch off. So I even teach my children to focus on themselves now, because relationships are pushed so hard onto the children now, and society is so over-sexualized to where I look back at cartoons and I see like, wow, this is what we used to watch.
Yeah. I saw one recently and I'm like, I don't know if they doctored it or not, but Mickey Mouse is on the turn, whatever, and and they're like making cheese in the factory, and he's turning into Swiss cheese and putting holes in it, but with his Yeah. And this is all the way back in 1888 at this point. So they've been doing it for a very long time when it comes to sexualizing everything. And I completely agree with that.
Yes.
That thing. Yeah. And I feel, so you feel like that's what influenced you to end up having a lot of children. Do you feel like, did you have most of your children when you went to prison? Or
yes, before I went to prison, I had already had 4 children. No, well, actually 5. One wasn't born yet.
Okay.
My son Jackson was born 7 days before I went to prison, and then I had another son that was born in April while I was still in county because I was doing too much. And again, I had a very low vibration, especially as far as mentality. To where when me not understanding how the partner I had was feeling, I almost started trying to figure out a way to please myself instead of looking at how to please my partner. So when she accused me of things that I wasn't doing, I went out and did it in the mindset of, well, if you're going to accuse me anyway, I might as well do it. Which created another situation as to where, like I said, one of my sons was born in January and another son was born in April. Now, it also made me open my eyes and see how we perpetuate our own generational curses because I was born in January and my brother was born in April. So it really opened my eyes, and I was like, God, wow, I see how I'm creating what I may not necessarily want in life. And it's nobody else's fault at the end of the day because, like I said, my mom was trying to create a environment of making me strong in a certain way, and I still made the choice to do those things. Yeah.
Well, you were influenced heavily. You know, your parents are the first people that influenced you. So, I know you had a lot of influences with your mother. What about with you not living with your father? How did he, not having him there, but you had your stepfather? How was that played a part on your life?
My stepfather unconsciously taught me things that he doesn't even realize he taught me. Because I had to learn that he was struggling through a lot from how his father had raised him. So many times we don't realize that we are not only programmed subconsciously, but we're programming our children subconsciously by everything that we do. A child from the age of 0 to 7, their brains are the state of alpha or gamma. The alpha or delta, which is a perpetual state of hypnosis. So everything that you do around your child, they're being hypnotized into doing the same exact things. So like when it says that a woman will always look for her father. If her father was abusive, she ends up unconsciously seeking out dudes that are abusive.
Okay, so how did you, I know from my experiences with you, you've vibrated higher. How did you take that next step to get there?
I think I've always had an inkling towards watching other people to mold myself into being something better. Because like you heard the old saying, you can learn a lot from a dummy. You can learn what not to do. But they say that a smart individual learns from their own mistakes and a wise individual learns from others. So I've tried to pattern myself to learn from others' mistakes, but I really didn't get deeper into understanding myself until I went to prison because it removed me from a lot of the external stimuli and allowed me to only focus on myself and even look at the deeper aspects and the demons that I didn't even want to acknowledge that I had.
Nice. I'm here for it. So which one of those demons do you feel that you still struggle with that?
I can say I still struggle with making decisions based on how I feel other people may respond. To where I just did a video that I still have to edit to where I also talk to myself a lot in these videos I do. We have to break ourselves from the hypnosis of expectation. What I mean is you will be around so many individuals that you'll learn how they are that you will in turn act accordingly to how you want them to respond. Even if it comes to a point of you making a decision that's best for you, if you feel like they're going to act in any negative way, you won't even make that decision that benefits you or the whole.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That's very true. I feel like I also have to, I do feel like I do a lot of decision making for myself, but I do also feel like the things that I do to help myself automatically help the people around me. And so I have a spirit of selflessness in a way, and so I try to give, and I always benefit from it, and not always, but there are those times. But I feel like that's something that I think if people make decisions based on you, everybody getting the best piece of pie that they can have, then it will make it easier for you to be able to just stand on your ground for whatever that decision is, because you know in your spirit that it's not, let me just say negative, for the lack of a better term.
I agree completely with that, and that's the key component, is recognizing what decisions are made that benefit the whole positively, and what benefit us that we may try to give a semblance of benefiting everybody else, but it's really just for us. Yeah,
and sometimes you got to do that, and don't feel bad about it. You know, and that's another thing. Feeling bad about putting yourself first, I feel like is the goal. People who say that are toxic. I know toxic has probably been overused in 2019, but people who say, when they see you start to do things to benefit you and you alone, even though you've probably been doing a lot of stuff to benefit them, those are the type of energies that you need to try to avoid. And I know I heard you earlier speaking about how you began to do all the things that you felt you were being accused of that you weren't doing.
Right.
Do you feel like you began to transition away from people who react like that or place blame on you now that you found a higher version of yourself? Or
yes, I've had to, because it becomes to a point of not even codependence, but dependence, to where this individual's every move, every thought, every decision is solely focused on you. So if you're not, again, falling into the hypnosis of their expectation of what they want, then they'll literally lash out. And you have to end up separating yourself from people that aren't conducive to the vibration you want to carry. Everything that we do in life is energy. Everything is a vibration. And if you are at your highest level of vibration, not even comparing it to anybody else, but your own highest level, and somebody else has a problem with you being happy, and they want you to do or change up everything that you're doing that may be benefiting the rest of the world, but it's not benefiting them, you have to remove yourself, because you end up coming to a place to where you're not able to fulfill your purpose.
How do you feel like, what's one step that you can take to being able to remove those that won't accept your vibrations?
You have to first remove the mindset of guilt and trying to appease everyone else. And after you do that, then you can understand the fact that the decision that you're making is even benefiting them, whether they realize it or even want to accept it.
I like it. So how was your, I presume that it wasn't pleasant, but you were able to find a better version of yourself while you were in prison. Was there any other positive experiences that you had there? What got you in prison in the first place?
Well, what got me in prison in the first place is I got out of the military. I literally couldn't find a job because all of my references were either back in Iraq or deployed to Germany or Korea or things of that nature. And being a cook, I thought, yeah, I'd be able to come out and get a job anywhere. But it was a little harder than I thought. So, I went to the streets. I started, let's say, becoming an illegal pharmacist. Initially, it wasn't done for the sole purpose of making money. It was done to cope with PTSD that I was struggling with from Iraq, but I didn't even realize I was self-medicating. And that slowly grew into buying in bulk and friends seeing that I had it and expanded into a business venture that I didn't even realize that I was opening up. So I was on probation for the laws running in a spot that I was in. And one day, me and my son's mother got into an argument. That argument turned into a situation that shouldn't have gone the way it did, but even more was compiled onto the situation to where I ended up being charged with manufacture with intent to deliver and a false assault of a family member. So after that happened, I wasn't necessarily mad at the individual because I also understood how they had grown up and how the environment they were in and the influences of other people brought it to a head. Now, what I had to realize was I had to forgive them before I could even forgive myself to begin healing. So even though I was locked up.
So why?
Well, it was okay. Even though I was locked up for something that I hadn't done, I thought back to all the things that I had done that I hadn't got caught up in. I even thought back to the fact of the day that the police kicked my door in, I was going to make a decision that I would have never been able to come back from. So it's also like God or the universe redirecting my path from making a decision that I shouldn't have. So it also made me look from that individual's perspective to why they did what they did, that they were in a place that they thought they had to make a decision that they couldn't have. And so I ended up having to just accept the fact that it was nothing I could do to change it. I knew the truth, so it really didn't matter what anybody else thought about me or what was said. At the end of the day, I can't go back and change it.
Right.
There's no sense in continuing to focus on that situation and not moving on to a solution.
Solutions over situations. Do you feel like, have you always been somebody who was honest with yourself? Like, this is my truth, regardless of like, how other people see you. Have you always been like that, or was it a journey for you to get there?
I think it was a journey. I think I lied to myself about it being my truth. Okay. Just like the instance of where I said when she accused me of cheating, I went and started cheating. Like, well, if you're going to accuse me, I might as well do it anyway. But that was my truth at that point, which really a lie to myself. Because if I was really operating in the truest fashion, if I wasn't doing that, then why open the door to now be convicted of something I wasn't doing to begin with?
Why let her make a liar out of you? Or
no,
not a liar, a cheater out of you if that's not really who. I got you.
Right.
Okay. So I think that's one thing that a lot of people struggle with in general. And I don't know if you may have already answered it just in a different way, but how do you begin to just be honest with yourself? Like,
you have to look at the root of your decisions. The best way to be honest with yourself is to ask why. Why do you do the things that you do? Why do you seek attention externally? Why do you seek to find joy or happiness in somebody else? That's what I realized is the best way to do that is to question myself. Not question myself to find guilt, but to find the deepest root of why I may do what I do or say what I say, and to find the truest definition of my intention. Because everything in life we do, all the decisions we make are based on the definitions that we apply to either word, words or situations.
Did you go to therapy to kind of start on this path, or you kind of figured it out on your own?
While I was at county, I went through like a cognitive class,
Okay.
and I found myself asking more and more questions. So it was a combination of therapy, especially once you get in prison, they make you take classes. It's all just a matter of if you yourself are paying attention and taking the tools that are being given to you and utilizing them.
I didn't know they made you take classes in therapy. In jail or prison.
Yeah. Before you get out, they call it Project Rio. You have to actually take cognitive classes where they give you tools on problem solving and examining situations and
to help them not make the same decisions.
Right.
Okay, so that's like towards the end, not like during the.
Well, they give you opportunities while you're there, but you have to. It's just like if you decide to do a Bible study or if you decide to go into a program, you have to make that decision because even though a person may go through those cognitive classes, some just go through the motions. Right. It's not even a matter of changing. I'm just doing this because this is what y'all told me I got to do to get out. And most of them still get out with the same mindset.
And that's how you end up right back in.
Right.
Well, I'm glad that you took the steps to make some changes. So I met you through Pop Darby. How did that come about?
I had seen Pop. One of the first YouTube videos I saw was where he was talking about group economics, how each house in the neighborhood can pool money together to pretty much change their neighborhood, change their outlook, change their whole world in that community. I had also been following Derek Grace. So Derek had come down here for an event with his children. And as I was there talking to Derek, I ran across Pop. Now, the crazy thing was I have a spiritual mentor that I met in prison, Matthews. And everything Matthews had told me a week before I got out, Pop said the same exact things of pooling money together to where your resources are funded by yourself and you don't have to go beg the government or beg anybody else to do for you. And Pop expressed to me that he wanted to start UnityIswealth, or I can't even say wanted to start because once the thought has come into play, it's already in manifestation. So when he told me that, I was like, yeah, I'm in. Point blank. I saw what the universe was doing and I knew it was a path that I had to walk in.
And so how do you feel that experience is helping to shape you into who you want to be?
One, I get a lot of motivation from individuals in the group, like yourself, Tiara, T. Coop, Pop, the whole entire group. Watching them grow motivates me in my growth because I have the understanding that we're all one collective conscious. So we're all nurturing and helping each other to grow, whether an individual is already starting a business, whether they've been in business 10 years plus, or whether they just have the idea of, I want to start a business, or whether they just want to be a part of something.
It took me a long time to want to be a part of anything. Well, let me rephrase that. I wanted to be a part of something so bad that I avoided being a part of anything.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So like up until I decided to finally go to therapy when I had the mental break. I was always misunderstood for like all of the life. When I was very harsh, I guess, in my delivery in talking to people. I was very much so like, it's about the message, not how it's delivered. Right. And, that's clearly not how people work. So I had a really bad problem with logic versus emotions and stuff, And so every time I would try to talk to somebody or try to make friends or build relationships, they would crumble because of my expectations and my this is how relationships work. And it was very stoic, it was very ABC, right. And so if it wasn't if B was missed and we skipped C or something, I need to do like a U-turn and go pick up this piece, and that was really hard for me. And my aunt would always tell me that you can't live on an island by yourself, right? And so I think that there are probably still people out there who feel like, oh, I can do everything alone. I don't need nobody. I'm independent and blah, 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 blah. How important do you think building relationships and having relationships are?
Very. Because depending on the individual's mentality, it can be to a point to where making relationship connections can be seen as a benefit or as using everybody. Now, we in our English language tend to put a negative connotation on everything. So even for somebody to say, oh, I manipulated that, that's seen as something negative when it may not actually be. So I've had to learn, even within myself, because a lot of people will tell me, hey, bro, sometimes if you need help, just ask me. I have a mentality, one, that's starting a business. I want to make sure I'm able to do everything just in case something happens wrong. Right, yeah. I can step in if necessary. But I also see that in a lot of the relationships I've had in life, I've developed a guard. I put a wall up to where it makes it hard for me to trust people to do things for me. Now, I don't have a problem doing anything for anybody else, giving the shirt off my back, but that life doesn't work like that. Life has to be reciprocal. So you can't live on an island and choose to come off when you want to help other people and run back to your island, but not accept him. And just like you said, I grew up, and I'm not going to attribute it to the fact that I grew up mostly around women, but I grew up very emotional to where now I've even been accused of not being able to tap into my emotions. I do, but now I make decisions that are most beneficial from a logical stance. So where even when I may feel a certain way emotionally about doing business with an individual, if I know that the end cause is going to benefit more than just myself or that individual, then I'll step outside of my box emotionally and say, hey, bro, we need to go ahead and make this happen.